Welcome to this art tutorial, Working Wet on Wet. This is simply some techniques to help you in your beginning working with acrylics and a very simple technique known as wet on wet. So as we start this tutorial, we're starting with a dry canvas. The underlayers have fully dried. I apply a light mist of water and then some bright color with a flat brush, a wet flat brush. I'm working that in to the surface, as you can see, and I am being very careful to add a little in a highlight area and then just kind of spread the color around with that wet flat brush. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start muting this color down because I want it to be a lot softer. And the way that I like to work is I like to take a little bit of the satin glaze on my flat brush and I'm working it over that color. And as you can see, it is muting the color down and it is helping to move it around on the canvas. So I go back and forth on this for as long as I need to do it so it has the look that I like. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a damp bit of paper towel, remove some of the excess around the edges, and then dab over the surface and sort of work the color in until I'm happy with it. I'm really looking for a very soft, muted, creamy background versus a bright yellow. So you can just use this with a wet paper towel. You can use a brush, you can use a sponge, but I like to use the wet paper towel. I feel I have a little more control with that particular way of doing it. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little more glaze on my brush, and I'm using an acrylic satin glaze. I'm going over that now in some different areas where I really want to have a lot of transparencies. I'm going to be adding some color on top of this. So we're working quickly because acrylics, of course, dry very quickly. But if you have a little bit of water on your canvas, and then you can use your colors and your mediums. If you're using a damp brush, it really helps to spread the medium and the color around versus using a dry brush. You want to use a slightly damp brush for this technique. So I'm moving that glaze around and applying it really to the entire surface. Then what I'm going to do is I'm removing some of the excess with that paper towel here, as you can see, and just working it in with the brush a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm working with a palette knife, and I have a little paint on my palette knife, a blue, and I'm going to apply that in some areas on this wet surface. So this is the wet on wet. I will be able to move that paint around and mute it down, move it around, and use it as I want for the final look that I have. So I'm going to do that right now, you'll see. And when you do this, you can lift the paint off if you have something you've done and you don't like it. Then you'd want to use a dry paper towel to lift that paint off quickly. It may not lift the entire bit of paint, but you can get most of it off. If you want to move the paint around and dab it in and mute it, then you would use a damp paper towel or a little bit of a damp sponge, nothing dripping wet, because that will also sort of ruin the effect. So anything muted like this, I like to use a damp paper towel. It's just my preference. So I'm going back and forth with the paper towel, and I'm going to use the brush, the paper towel, back and forth until I get the effect that I want. So I'm going to go and I'm going to work back and forth with the brush, the paper towel until I get the effect that I want. And then I'm going to let it dry before I apply another layer of paint. You can see most of this um, demo that I've done. This is sort of a little deep dive into this particular technique in this section, but you can watch the entire demo and you can see the rest of the artwork being created. The link is in the description. This is an older video I did, but I thought a little deep dive here on this particular technique would be a good idea. So if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel and give me a like and a comment, and I'll see you on the next video.